Hi students, and welcome to the first module of International Law and Politics of Outer Space. To put everything in context, we'll begin with the main principles and instruments of law governing activities in outer space and the United Nations treaty-making process. The space age really began with the launch of Sputnik in 1957, when the Cold War was at its height. For the US and Russia, national security was a priority, and their motivation in space was the acquisition of military capability, missiles to deliver nuclear weapons, and satellites to spy over the other's territory. Their space programs were simply part of the global competition for international leadership, and Sputnik introduced a new criterion for determining that power. The foundation of international space law is comprised of 5 international treaties signed in the 1960s and 70s. They reflect Cold War compromises made between the United States and Russia with 3 major principles. First, space is the province of all mankind. That is, any country can access it and no country can own it. Second, states are responsible for the actions of their citizens in space. And 3, space must be used for peaceful purposes. At the outset, the UN established the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, called UN COPUOS. Module 1 explains the treaty drafting process in the UN. It's time-consuming and uses a consensus process that requires years of diplomacy to get agreement among all the nations of the world. But back in the 60s, when the perceived power was nearly equally divided between the 2 superpowers who both had incentive to make a deal out of fear that the other was about to gain an advantage in space, we were able to broker a treaty regime. But since then, many more countries have developed space capabilities and practical interests in space. Today, there's a very complex hierarchy among spacefaring nations and a geopolitical structure that constantly is being challenged, so that obtaining a consensus in the UN is a very rare thing. Module 1 provides all the details. Also, take a look at the PowerPoint. It'll give some background on the Administrative Office for Space Affairs in the UN. It's called OOSA, O-O-S-A, the Office for Outer Space Affairs. Please enter the discussion forum if you have any questions, and again, thanks for watching.